I had to start asking less of other people and asking more of myself. The app formerly known as Twitter has probably been the worst of them. What do I want, really? Welcome back, or welcome to my channel. My name is Miltania. If you're new here, I make videos about my life, just documenting my days living in New York in my late 20s, which is scary but also exciting. I also make sit-down videos like this, just rattling off whatever comes to my mind at the time. So if you're interested in that, subscribe and stay tuned. I will say over the last couple of years, I have gone through quite a lot of changes. I've changed jobs, I've changed homes, I've done a lot to kind of reshape the relationships in my life. And while I was doing all of that, I've built up habits that have just kind of helped my overall quality of life. And I wanted to share that with you guys today. So I think we're just going to jump right into it. So let's start with number one, and that would be walking. So there's the exercise aspect of walking, which is that it's a low impact. It gets you moving without physically putting too much stress on your body. So that's something that I've generally enjoyed about it. And I can walk, okay baby, I'm gonna walk. I will walk for miles and miles on end. It's helped to keep me toned, it's helped to keep my body active. But outside of the physical benefits of walking, it's become actually very meditative to me. So I walk 2 times a day roughly. I will say about 30 minutes or so. So in the mornings, my walks are typically 1 to get sunlight in and 2 to get my body moving really early. I typically alternate. If I don't go to the gym, I'll make sure that I have that walk, but I try to squeeze my walks in regardless. I also use this time to kind of think about what I want to do during the day. So I'll kind of have a plan in mind, but during my walk, I'll kind of map out the things that I want to accomplish that day, thinking about how much work I have on my plate and like the things that I'm gonna do around that or after work. The second walk that I do is typically my like end of day walk, and it's usually a meditative walk. I might listen to music, but sometimes I don't. But this is more so when I get to decompress, and having these 2 times to start my day and then finish my day has been so helpful to kind of put me back into focus or take me out of focus and kind of help me relax at the end of the day. I get a lot of time to think. I get a lot of time to kind of process emotions. All I'm doing is walking and thinking about whether or not I have to cross the street. So I'm not focusing on anything in particular. I'm not focusing on listening to music. I'm not focusing on listening to a phone call or what I have to do at home. So that aspect has been hugely, hugely beneficial to my mental health. You feel me? If you guys hear banging, today, maybe this needs to be number 1 ahead of everything else, but it has been cutting down on my social media consumption. I started to realize that I would have this routine in my life where I would work or finish my day, and then after I finished my day, I'd be on Insta, and I'll flip from Insta to TikTok. Even if I was watching TV, I would pay attention to the TV for, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes, and then I was back to my crack. I've had Twitter since I was about 14, 13, I don't know. It's been a long time. I have Instagram and I have TikTok. So those are the 3 apps that I tend to consume. And I will say that the app formerly known as Twitter has probably been the worst of them. I'm gonna be honest with y'all. And that was the first to go. I personally got off of Twitter because that place was very, very wild. It was very negative all the time, every time. I just was not good at consuming that much negativity all at once so consistently. And the moment I decided that I wasn't going to be on Twitter anymore, and I don't even know if it was an active decision or probably just subconsciously, I was like, I can't do this, and I just didn't open the app after a while. I saw a boost in just my overall happiness. And then that kind of came with me cutting down on Insta and then cutting down on TikTok once I got on TikTok. YouTube, she stays. I don't care. But the consumption of just these like really speedy, quick apps and really speedy, quick pieces of content were really driving down not just my mental health, but overall just my ability to pay attention to anything. My attention span was in the gutter, and I really had to clock that behavior, and I really had to change it because it was just affecting so many other parts of my life, not being able to keep my attention. And I already got issues with my attention span. I didn't need anything else coming for it. So cutting down on the consumption of social media was a really conscious effort. I wouldn't realize just how much time I would pass until I got that little report at the end of the week. You know when your phone tells you that you're terrible and you need to close them apps? Yeah, that report. Once I clocked the fact that I was on there for like 10 minutes, 15 minutes, I was like, oh babes, we gotta go. I felt much more refreshed and I started feeling more creative. I was consuming so many people's thoughts and emotions and their own creativity and their own views that I was not making enough room for my own thoughts to flow. And so now my interaction is more thought through, it's more intentional, and I try to keep my time on social media very limited. Now don't get me wrong, I will fall into a doom scroll every now and then. This isn't like perfect, but nowadays I've kind of learned to manage my time a little bit better, so that is not as much of a big kind of time sink for me. Number 3, journaling. So a very different kind of journaling that I have been used to, and that is journaling the positive things. Historically, I have journaled when I'm mad, when I'm hurt, when I'm upset, when I'm sad. My journal was crazy. And it's been really, really helpful for me to get those feelings out because I'm processing a lot when I'm writing out my journal. I'm also looking at things differently as I'm getting those thoughts out. It was helpful at in those times for me to process those negative emotions. But now I look back and I'm like, I have no positive moments here. So changing to sort of journal positive things and small moments in my life that are good, jotting down things that I just find sentimental, has done so much to change my way of thinking. It's also been a nice positive reinforcement over time for me to have those thoughts now to go back and look to and to kind of balance out all of the negativity that I was placing in there. It's also helped me to be very mindful of my thought patterns and my thought processes and the way that I'm viewing a situation or situations, or the way that I'm viewing my circumstances. It's given my journal a little bit more balance and also given me things to kind of reflect on, and also helps me view my world a little bit differently, and I think I'm a lot more balanced for it now. So I think we're on number 4. Yeah, number 4. And that would have to be becoming a more active participant in my own life. And I would like to think that I always have been, but I can't say that I haven't had my bouts of helplessness and kind of externalizing my happiness, I would say, to put it short, rather than internalizing and understanding that that comes from me, basically, and no one else. I took responsibility for all of it, for my life, for my happiness, for whatever it is that I know that I want and need. And I think when I was in my earlier 20s, it was much easier for me to think, oh, well, if my partner just does this, or if my friends just do that, or if this thing, just externalizing so much, and very unintentionally too. I think when you don't necessarily know even what you want and what happiness looks like to you, it's really easy to think that if you ask everyone to change and do these things for you that you'll be happy. But that has never been the case. All right, my camera died, but we are back, baby. So where was I? So when I say that has not been the case for me, I mean, yes, people in my life have added happiness to my life. They've made my life better, but that is not a consistent way of getting yourself happy. And also happiness itself is very the only consistent thing about happiness is that it's very fleeting. It comes and it goes. It's here and it's not. But in terms of, I think, sustaining a sense of happiness or contentness in my life, that has come solely from a lot of hard work and effort on my end. And the main thing that started with was going to therapy. And it's really a part of the puzzle, but not the whole thing. I will say that it started before that. I was doing some mindfulness practices. I was trying to journal more. I was really trying to get to know myself better. I was also in probably what I think is probably the worst time of my life. Just the worst. I was depressed, not in a good physical or mental, emotional space. Starting therapy was one of the things that definitely helped me to kind of catapult this whole journey, because it really helped me kind of look at myself in a different way than I had been before. I think I wasn't really looking at my decisions the same way. I wasn't looking at the way I was acting in the same way. And I tried to take therapy seriously because, one, I'm paying for it, hello. And two, because therapy itself is a two-man show and it's really only as good as you make it. And it's really very pointless if you aren't taking those things and applying them to your life outside of that session that you have with the therapist. I had to ask myself like real questions like, what do I want really? And that can be what I want right now, what I want in the next year, what I want in the next 2 years. But I actually had to start asking myself, what do I want? What kind of dynamics work for me? What does my life actually look like in an ideal? Once I started asking those questions, it became really harder and harder for me to think about what other people were doing, because I started to realize that I had to make my own shifts in order to make my situations the way that I wanted them to be. And when I did that, I started paying attention to my actions. I started paying attention to the way that I was speaking. I started paying attention to the way I was spending my time, which is kind of what goes back to like not spending much time in social media or starting to go for walks. I mean, all of these things kind of started to intertwine themselves. And so I had to start asking less of other people and asking more of myself for my own life. And that somehow made things easier. It made things harder for me because I had to now start doing a different kind of work in my life, but it also made it easier for me to just accept situations for what they were. I started putting less responsibility on people. I became less frustrated. I became more accepting. Even if I wasn't accepting specific behaviors from people, I accepted that that's how they behaved. And so I just started to separate feeling so much like I needed things and people to be a certain way, and started realizing that I need to be a certain way, and I need to look at my relationships from a much different lens. And once my view changed, and it took a lot of work to kind of do that, because this stemmed into my health, it stemmed into the way that I had relationships with people. It came with setting up different boundaries for myself. It came with taking more care of my physical and mental health. And I think it definitely is something that naturally comes with age. It becomes a little impossible to live the same life over and over and asking for a different outcome. I had to grow in ways that I did not feel comfortable growing in. It meant I had to keep the promises that I made to myself. I had to advocate to myself for myself, and I had to hold myself accountable for myself. And I mean, I was putting on some real big girl pants, but changing my mindset about how I felt about myself and changing the way that I approached myself, basically treating myself with the same respect that I was treating other people with, that changed my entire view of myself. And it made me realize that it's okay to change. It's okay to have different expectations of people. It's okay to have expectations of people in your life that want to be in your life. And it's okay to not accept situations just because they're happening. It's okay to not accept behaviors just because people behave that way. And I don't think I realized just how much I was kind of letting my life just go until I started doing that. And I would say that even though it's like number 4 on the list, it has been the biggest change in my life that has kind of made everything else fall into place and taken certain things out of place and replaced them with better things for myself. I have started taking up new hobbies just for fun. Not because I want to accomplish something, not because I have a goal. I think a lot of people, myself, tend to be very goal oriented. If I don't have a goal, or if I can't see my goal, it's really hard for me to want to do something. And that's not because I don't find a thing interesting. I think that's just how a lot of people are set up. What I've gotten out of trying new things for fun is that I've gotten to have so many experiences, and I've made these things super non-committal. So I'll try something 1 or 2 times, 3 times. If I don't enjoy it, I just don't enjoy it, and that's it. I've learned to start letting go of the mindset of, if I pick something, I have to do this and I have to commit to this and this has to be a whole thing. And I've learned to take some of the pressure off of a lot of things that I do. Some of these things do have goals, some of them don't, but the goalless hobbies that I've started, which is just for myself to expand my mental capacity, expand my knowledge, and just learn something new for the sake of learning, has boosted so much in my life. It's also added to my creativity as a person. It's helped me be more informed, and this has been listening to new podcasts, reading books that I otherwise wouldn't have read or wouldn't have found interesting. I've started learning French. Do I plan on meeting a French man? No. Am I going to France anytime soon? I don't think so. But I'm just learning it for the sake of learning something new, and I've been learning it for 60 days. Okay. But just to introduce play again, I think as I've gotten older, I haven't allowed myself to have too much free play, because if I'm doing something, there's a reason behind it. And I've realized that it's okay for my intention to be no intention. And it's also kind of allowing my inner child to have a little bit of fun. And I think once I've removed the kind of objectives and the big goals from some of the things that I've learned to do, I'm allowing myself to have so much more enjoyment in my life. And I look forward to those things now than I do to the things that I know have deadlines or that I know it has some specific outlined expectation. Last thing I want to touch on is the morning routine that I've created, or a routine to fall back on. Now, I fall on, I fall off, I fall left, I fall right. It happens. But I have a morning routine now that I've developed that I can fall back on even when I fall off. For the majority of my life, I haven't had a set morning routines or night routines. So my morning would just be whatever it was, and my night would just be whatever it was. And chaos. I mean, like, it wasn't super chaotic, but it was just disorganized, and I would just do whatever, whenever, and it was a little bit of a mess. And so over time, I've developed a very simple morning routine, and it's really simple because I have seen some morning routines that are extravagant, and I'm like, babes, who is gonna do that? It's 7 a.m. Who is doing all that? You got an 85-step morning routine and at 7 a.m.? Be for real. So my morning routine now has become super simplified, and I did have a huge morning routine at one point, but now my morning routine has become a handful of things. One, we get out of bed, we make the bed. I make my bed every single day. I don't care. The days I don't make my bed, I feel like those are the days I'm staying in my bed. But when I make my bed, it literally gives my brain a quick snap. We're getting things done today. We are gonna be busy. We're girl bossing today. The next thing I do is I do a quick kind of skincare routine, just really making sure I put on some sunscreen and some moisturizer. And I have my morning walk. I do a quick journal, and then I list out 3 to 5 things that I might want to accomplish that day, or things that I kind of know I already want to do, but I just want to remind myself. Those are the 5 things that I tend to try to do every single morning. And what I've realized since I've done that is that I have so much less swirling around in my mind. A lot less is up in the air for me, especially once I create my like 3 to 5 item task list, because I work, and so whatever I can get done outside of work is what I can get done. I just try to put a lot of focus on the more prioritized items for the day, because I know what I'm expecting of myself that day. I know the things that I have to do, and it also puts me in a really good mood to start my day. Every single time that I wake up and I kind of just roll out of bed, roll into work, roll into a possible meal, I don't feel as good. Now, I do have those days, and I kind of let myself have those days now. Having a routine that you can fall back on versus having nothing to fall back on was what kind of kept me spinning for a while. It's okay for me to miss a day. It's okay for me to stay in bed one day. It's okay for me to kind of take the day and play it by ear, because I have comfort in the fact that I know what I can do the next day or the day after to get myself back on track. The one thing that is really hard is not having a routine and not having something to fall back on. And then it kind of just is its own vicious cycle. And it took me a while to determine what I enjoyed doing in the morning and what I could commit to doing in the morning versus what I was not gonna commit to doing in the morning. And having that sort of process has been so helpful for basically setting me up to have a good day. And even if I don't have a good day, because it happens, then at least I kind of know what I'm expecting to some degree, because I can't control what's going to happen in my day, but I can control how to some degree I'm going into that day. Whew, that was a lot. So those are the things that have helped me be better, do better, think better. I hope that this video was helpful to you guys. If at least one thing helps anyone, I'm really happy and really grateful for that. If there's anything that you do in your own life that helps you, or any habits that you formed or changes that you've made in your life that have helped you kind of come up emotionally or mentally or physically, leave that down in the comment. Let me know what you guys thought of this video, or if you guys want to see more videos like this. I kind of like the chatty videos. I kind of like sitting down and brain dumping on here, but I really hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope it helped someone. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. I will see you guys on the next video. Bye.